Hello everybody, it is Wednesday the 1st of January 2025. Happy New Year. Now, I want to start this year thinking about the revelation of Paul and where I think Christians are going completely wrong, where they make a fundamental mistake. And that mistake comes out of us not fully understanding what is actually being said in that teaching and what Paul is actually saying himself. So I want to talk about that today. I have been made aware of another channel, James Tabor, which is very good, and I will stick with that for a while. For me, the problem is, from what I've seen so far, that he is speaking about all of this on the level of history. Yeah, and what historically happened, the split between Paul and the apostles under James, the brother of Jesus, that were in Jerusalem. And again, that Paul is teaching his gospel that is according to his revelation, the revelation that Paul himself had. I want to talk about that in a minute and what that actually means to my mind. But as I said, he is talking about, James Tabor is talking about this, as far as I've seen so far, on the level of history, church politics really. And although he says things like, well, Paul did proclaim, Jesus crucified in the kingdom of heaven, and how for Paul it was very important that we all go there. But the really important question is not being answered there, and that is, what is heaven? And how are we going there? What are we even talking about? Yeah, that is what we need to understand. That is the spiritual dimension of these teachings, is what we truly need to understand, because that is what is creating our reality, and it may create where it is we're going. Yeah. But as I said, for now, I'm sticking with that channel because, and I haven't heard it yet, I know where Paul is going with this. And that is Christianity. They are the followers of Paul, the teaching of Paul that grew out of Paul's revelation. What I really want to hear is where James and the others went with this in Jerusalem. Did they go into a different direction? Or are we all going the way of denial of self and we're all getting out of here? Anyway, but I want to talk about Paul and the importance of what Paul says when he says, I am teaching Jesus and him crucified. I am teaching the crucified Jesus. Yeah? That is extremely important. And I want to show you here why, and I want to show you what the fundamental mistake is that Christians are making. So, let's start with Jesus. So Jesus was a human being with an extended awareness of reality beyond the five senses. The realities that exist and that can be known, but that are outside of our five senses. So we need to use some other sensory ways of knowing those other realities, but it can be done. And apparently it can be taught to all how to do that. Jesus, when he was here in this world, he also used that extended awareness to affect reality here in this world. Those were the healings and the other things that he did that benefited people that were living in this reality. It served life in this reality. But then he started to shift. And here goes. Shift to reveal something that was, again, outside of our five senses. It does influence this world. It has an influence on this world, but we don't know it because it is outside of our five senses. If you want to say it's in a different dimension, fine. Yeah? So, and in order to reveal that, he had to become the energy of that. The energy of New Jerusalem. Yeah? There is a consciousness out there that has a kingdom out there, as he says. And he wanted to reveal that, bring it as a knowledge to those that are in their five senses. So in order to do that, he had to shift. Now, we are in this reality, and we are in a web of life in this reality, and that is because our thoughts and our emotions, what we know is here, our energies are entangled. We are entangled with each other and with nature and with this world. That is our love, that's also our hates, and our interactions with each other. That is what keeps us in the web of life. Our energies are entangled with this, are connected here with the things around us. That is creates our life here. Now, and the Bible says, when that God calls you, he will take you out of those connections. He will take you away from your family, your friends, from the place that you know, into the wilderness. And that is because the connections that are keeping you in the knowing of this, they have to be broken. Those energetic connections have to be broken. And you form a new energetic connection with that kingdom. You love God, so to speak. Yeah? Well, that's what it says. You should love God. So then your energies are focused somewhere else. And that's what Jesus did. Yeah? And then he got instructions. Again, Jesus said, I don't do anything, I don't say anything unless I'm being told to do so by my Father in heaven. And I do according to that. And what he did, actually, more and more, it more and more shifted from the knowledge of a human being, that is the knowledge of good and bad, or what you should and shouldn't do. But I'm doing what I'm doing to glorify the kingdom. And I'm following orders that are coming from there. Yeah? So he, and again, thinking, saying, and doing. Single-minded. Following and not judging for himself. Again, his own knowing had to be suppressed, had to be gone. He did that through the crucifixion. There was really that new consciousness was born in the tomb in those 3 days. There was a rebirth into a new consciousness. That consciousness was in this world for a few days until it ascended. Again, it slipped into that other reality. To me, that is what the text says. It shifted into that other reality. And then he brought the knowledge, because somehow he still had a connection here with John, or John got connected to him. I don't know which way around. But he brought the knowledge of what is existing out there as a reality. That is a reality that is outside of our five senses. And he brought the knowledge of that to John. John was supposed to teach it to all. But now, make no mistake, what is in New Jerusalem, to my mind, is a hive mind. Yeah? And I tell you, there is no love or compassion in that cube, because you know it by its fruit. Yeah? And what is coming from there is war, is armies. Yeah? There will be judgment, there will be earthquakes, there will be plagues poured out from there. And here goes. Jesus is now an integrated part of that. He has become that. He had to. That is the way of the revealer. That is the way of denial of self. You have to energetically become that, to be that. You have to become that being. And that was the sacrifice of Jesus. He sacrificed his truth in order to become that. But make no mistake, he is now that. He is that. And here's the fundamental mistake that Christians make. And that is, they say that they are proclaiming the healer, the compassionate Jesus, and they say, we go to New Jerusalem to meet him there. And he doesn't exist there. That Jesus died on the cross. The compassionate healer is what had to die for him to transform into that other consciousness, to go through that transformation. He is not there. He died on the cross. The compassionate healer died on the cross. So that is why when the Bible says people will come running saying, Lord, Lord, I did compassionate things in your name. I healed people. I drove out demons. He will say, I do not know you. Because he is, that Jesus is no longer that. That died on the cross. Our humanity, our love died on the cross. But he did it in order to know what is out there, actually experience what is out there. He is part of that, and to reveal that to the people in this reality as a warning, or just to give the knowledge that that is actually out there. And again, if you believe, then that is real. Now, here in comes Paul. And again, this is why it's so very important to understand why Paul said, I am teaching the crucified Jesus. I am teaching Jesus and him crucified. I am teaching the way of the cross. This is what you need to understand then. If Paul had a revelation, and let's say again, that was the real thing. That was actually an energetic experience. He was connected to Jesus. And Jesus gave him instructions on what to teach in this world. But the Jesus he was connected to was the one in New Jerusalem. See, the revelation itself happened after the crucifixion, after the ascension. Jesus was no longer in this world. So again, he had a revelation of the crucified Jesus. That was the one in New Jerusalem. And then Paul starts teaching just that. Obedience to God. Don't go by your own knowing. Yeah? Don't question God. You know, obedience to authority, even in this world. Wives, be obedient to your husband. Husband, be obedient to the church fathers or the state authority or whatever. Slaves, be obedient to your masters. He's teaching the hierarchy. He's teaching obedience. He's teaching not to go by your own knowing, but trust on, follow Jesus. Follow Jesus. Do as Jesus did. That is what he's preaching. And again, in this world, we are now, those that are in church or in any other capacity that are now the obedient ones. Yeah? We don't question things. We don't think for ourselves. We go the way of Jesus. Our reward will be in heaven. We are going to New Jerusalem. Again, you are making yourself into that. Yeah? I am that which is obedient, which will not think for itself, which is totally acquiescent, and I will go to New Jerusalem. I will be part of that hive mind. That is what Paul is preaching. And then Paul says, you follow that way, and we all shall go to New Jerusalem. We will be raptured. We will be taken out of this reality, and we will see New Jerusalem. And I mean, of course, first of all, sorry, I should have said that first, but Paul is actually laying the foundation for all of this by the idea that his telling of the story of what happened in the garden, the fall, the sinfulness of man, and the need to be saved and redeemed. That lays the foundation, and that's the foundation of how you see yourself. I'm the sinful thing that went up against the will of God, and I know nothing, and I'm now in darkness, and I must follow the way of Jesus, the way of the cross, the way of denial of self, so I will see the glorious kingdom. I will be raptured out of this world, and I will see that glorious kingdom. Well, enjoy. But here it is so important to understand why Paul said, I am preaching the crucified Jesus. And here's the fundamental mistake of Christians. They think the compassionate Jesus, the healer Jesus, the love and compassion Jesus is in New Jerusalem, and he's not. That is what had to die on the cross in order to make the transformation. That is what had to die. That Jesus died on the cross. So that's, everybody says that. They're proclaiming the compassionate healer Jesus, and then they say we will see him in New Jerusalem by going the way of the cross, by going the way of denial of self. And he is not there. What is there is no longer that being. It went through a transformation in the tomb to be resurrected into a different consciousness that then shifted into another reality. That was the whole point. And now Paul is taking us all there. We should all go there. Now, as I said before, I want to stick with that channel, the James Tabor channel, because apparently there was a split between Paul, and Christians are now the followers of Paul. It is the teaching of Paul out of the revelation of Paul, the revelation of the crucified Jesus, the one in New Jerusalem, in that reality. That is Christian. You're following him. So I said I want to stick with the channel to see where the others were going, where the Jerusalem crowd was going with us. Because I really want to see if anybody at all is going with the living Jesus, with the human living Jesus that can heal, that can perform miracles in this world out of love and compassion. Is anybody going that way to make that a reality? That is also, what happened there is also out of an extended awareness, obviously, that is far out beyond the five senses, what is happening there. But is anybody going that way to proclaim the living Jesus, the human Jesus? The Jesus that had love and compassion in this world and could do things, to make all our lives better in this world, Is anybody following that one? Anyway, I don't know if James and the others did go that way. That's what I'm trying to find out. Anyway, here, I'll leave it at that for today, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.